So there's so many initiatives out there that are like chipping away little by little. They take a few chips off the table of like our carbon total. And there's a lot of money being spread around, but very few of them stand alone, or even when you compile them together, are really, in what I've seen, making a huge impact. Whereas fusion is like the one everybody says, if we can do it, and that's the big thing. We don't want to put all of our chips in a basket that turns out not to be able to work. But it's the one that actually, we put $10 trillion towards it as a global society, whatever we put to like the war on terror over 20 years, right? Like whatever, double that, right? Like 5 to 10 trillion. Like that's the thing, because it actually has the like hop, skip, and a step towards fixing water, carbon removal, et cetera.
Yep.
And is that something you would advocate? Is that just like a dumb person's way of thinking about it? I feel like we're spreading all this money out to like make packaging more sustainable or to like create some kelp forests, all things that I love. But like when you add it up, if we just focused all of society from a messaging perspective and just in one voice said fusion, not because we know it's going to work, but because it may be the only one that can.
Right.
How do you think about that?
I don't think it's a dumb person question at all. I think there are probably a lot of people who would agree with you. My kind of personal feeling on that is that, let's say we do that, we're still 5 to 10 years. I would imagine, like people are saying, okay, like Commonwealth Fusion is saying that they are going to be building power plants in 2030. So let's say we manage to accelerate that to 2027. We still have to, we like solve the energy question, we settle on a science, we start deploying. It's still several more years before we've deployed. But meanwhile, we have starved of resources, everything in the interim. Meaning all the processes that I talked about that rely on that clean energy wouldn't be getting developed. So like, there's a company I love called Brimstone that is making an alternative to cementitious materials that is carbon negative, because the outcome, and they just like used a different kind of rock, right? Yeah. They were like, we use this different kind of rock. And then the outcome of that is a rock that actually absorbs carbon.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Genius, okay.
If that's not getting invented at the same time, then once we have fusion, we also have to go and figure out all the other things that fusion can enable. And so we still sort of set ourselves back in a way, right? Like there's still a whole bunch of invention that has to come into play so that the fusion is useful for more than just powering the planet, which is still a really big deal.
Got it.
I would rather I am a believer in parallel development. There's still things that we need to do. If we consume less, if I buy used clothing, if I engage in the circular economy now, even if that is ostensibly taking money away from fusion, I'm keeping toxic dye out of the ocean. I'm helping, I'm doing what I can for the species extinction crisis. Like I'm not polluting. So I'm still in favor of every solution being developed. I also don't think it's a binary. Like we have more money we could be putting into fusion. So what this really comes down to is it's a policy question and it's a priorities question. Like we could, like maybe COVID. I'm going to go with an even more controversial example.
Please, we love it.
But like during COVID, the policy response at the federal level was we are going to put all of our energy into a vaccine, all the energy and money, Operation Warp Speed, into a vaccine, to the exclusion of every other intervention that could have slowed the spread of the virus. Installing new HVAC and filters in schools and hospitals and office buildings, masking, as a social behavior on airplanes. Pick your thing,
right?
That would have slowed the spread of the virus. Like if you only put the energy into vaccines, then a whole bunch of people die while you're waiting for the vaccines.
Right.
So if I put fusion in that, unfortunately, very controversial category, a whole bunch of people and animals will die while we're waiting for fusion because we just don't have time not to do everything at once.
But I think I'm okay with the short-term effects, like the short-term negative effects, because I just don't see a good body of data, like over the last several years, of a narrative coming together where we are galvanized to fix this issue. Like, we're taking steps backwards in the US right now. Climate investment is down from a, investor perspective, right? Like, the next 4 years are going to be probably not great. Hopefully that's not the case. We're probably going to miss our 1.5 goals by the end of the decade. Like, every year we're adding more carbon into the atmosphere, not less, and we know more about how bad it is. So like, I agree, but like, yes, like, I used to be a yes and, I think, but my worry is that the narrative is not there because we know more and it's actually getting worse, not better. Now, are we reducing carbon in some areas? Yes, I'm sure lots of places are getting efficient, but like, as a global society, it's going up every year. And when we know that that's like bankrupting our future, and I wonder if, like, messaging is part of the problem. If we all said one thing, it's not like everyone's going to quit their job and like start working on fusion, right? Like, we're still going to have some people working on concrete. We're going to have some people working on reforestation, other people doing whatever. Yeah. But the narrative, like when we went to the moon, I obviously wasn't born then, but like, we all got together and went to the moon. Now, like, everyone went around their job and like the janitor still needed to clean the facility and whatever. But like, if we verticalize the economy so that we're supporting end to end whatever fusion takes from like bottom up, everybody's still going to go around and live their lives. But when you ask anyone, we're saving the planet and we're doing it with fusion not because it doesn't have problems, but because it's the only one that we have right now that actually like can check all the boxes and take the gigatons out. To me, it's like when a bunch of environmentalists get on stage, we're like very muddled. We're like, it's like the all of the above approach. And as like a person who has 2 kids now below 5, I'm like, so what are we doing? You know what I mean?
That. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, whereas if I could just be like fusion, it's like, okay, there's a new dollar that's available. Where does that go? Fusion, right? Like, okay, there's like some excess capacity, with students right now. What are they doing? Like, fusion. Now you could argue like maybe we put some into AI so that we can have the robots help us come up with some of those solutions, right? But that's part of the vertical strategy of like, how do we end to end? What are the choke points that are preventing us from fusion? And how do we like unchoke each one of them? And like, that to me is a narrative, and we could sell that globally. Totally. Whereas we can't sell like a kelp forest and concrete and this and that and be like, everybody do everything. That to me feels, I think maybe I'm confused, right? So then if I'm confused,
I'm like 100% on board with the world where that exists.
Yeah.
Where the verticalization exists, where we are like Operation Warp Speed for fusion. That would be awesome. It's just who's the we, but like this is a super important positive provocation. Like, I gave you an answer that exists in the world that I live in, but in the world that I want to live in, 100%, the UN would have the authority, or the US or somebody would have the moral authority to say, because like, you're 100%. The only thing at the end of the day, the only thing that truly stops this is is the energy transition.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It gets transitioning off of fossil fuels as soon as humanly possible. Full stop.
Right. Yeah. I love the way you put that. Your answer is for the world that we live in, right? And kind of the answer that you want to give is for the world you want to live in. And like, I totally relate.
And I think
to
I'm
your
living
answer,
in
Ross.
the opposite world, because I'm like, the world that I'm living in, we're not doing anything. I'll put that in quotes, right? Like, we're totally doing.
I know, like, don't poop on the kelp forest, man. Like, I mean,
actually, it's like the one company that I would love to do. Like, I'd love to plant some kelp. Like, that's like, actually, I'm calling it out because I'm like interested in it. That's why I really know.
That's why I say it all the time. All I would say from the hope perspective, all I would say from the hope side is that when you need to solve a big problem, you break it down into its component parts.
Yeah.
And you solve it a little bit at a time. And so like, I do think there's still and that most likely in the short term, until we have a global agreement that fusion is all we're going to do, or we have a U.S. administration that says this is the moonshot, most likely we're a many hands make small work
situation.
And then we should We should do, and then it's why every problem is annoying. It's why only the boring stuff actually gets things done.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case. It's just the boring hard work of like policy and figuring out, like I interviewed this guy the other day who was like, oh yeah, it turns out that, let's say Microsoft has $1 billion climate fund where they fund climate projects, but then they're literal banking because they store all their cash in banks that finance fossil fuel projects. It just undoes all the work that they're doing there. And so that actually, if everybody moved their corporate treasury, what is more boring than this topic? But if you and I do it, if companies do it, if they change their corporate treasury strategy to putting money, because, when banks take in our money, they loan it out.
Yeah,
like when it's in savings, they're loaning it out to different projects. And if those projects are financing fossil fuel infrastructure, then it's our carbon footprint. And it's massive. Yeah, and if all that money went into banks that are financing fusion or green energy projects, we have all the money we need. It's $7 trillion.
Yeah.
Right.
That is currently sitting in banks that are financing fossil fuel projects instead of fusion.
Right.
So there's totally a version where we do this with banking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm down if we just want to make that the thing.
Sure.
And that's the narrative.
Banking
great.
moonshot.
I think
Let's go.
Yeah, banking moonshot. But we don't even need that. We have enough money globally to put 10 trillion into fusion.
That too.
Right?
Yep.
And then we don't have to convince banks to not invest in the highest profit thing or whatever, right? I think right now, if you ask the average person, I don't think they know what out of the moonshots are even going to get us there.
Yeah.
And saying it with one voice to me sounds so powerful.
Yeah.